Hey there, Internet Drifters. It's Izanami-kun here with Playin' Right Character Development number 6. And this time we are going to be doing a story on Lachi. He's the newest recruit. Well, not actually the newest recruit anymore, but the newest recruit that's at the colony currently. And we never did a backstory or anything on him, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that this time. So here's the information we have on him. So he has an old gunshot wound on his right index finger. Which kind of makes you wonder, like, how do you get a gunshot wound on your right finger and it's not blown off? I'm going to say that it was a backfire. Because he really sucks at shooting. And it's the only thing that really makes sense to me. Nobody's going to shoot at you and you get a scratch on your finger. That's incredibly, that's near impossible. I mean, I'm sure it could happen. I'm sure it has happened. I don't think that it's a very common thing. And I don't know. I guess I don't want to go with the really weird shit. Especially since he's a blood game survivor. I don't even know what that means. But it sounds amazing. So he's already badass, you know? So yeah, he's already amazing enough as is. He could use a few, what the fuck, man, kind of things. And I think that this gives him a little bit more balance as a character. He's not capable of crafting. He's not capable of firefighting. He's a gourmand nudist brawler. Well, maybe it's gourmand. I don't know how to say that especially, but I know that it means he's basically a foodie. He likes food. Likes lots and lots of food. He gets hungrier faster than most people. I want to say that also has to do with the quality. It really sounds like it should have to do with the quality, but I don't know that it does. But, we can just say that he has a high metabolism, and that takes care of that right away. Because he's obviously just bulky. 19 melee. This dude is a force to be reckoned with. The only reason why I don't really use him is because he's nude. Until I get armor, he is just defenseless entirely. And I know with a 19, he's probably not in that much danger, but at the same time, I don't know, the idea of going to fight somebody hand to hand with your dong swinging all over the place just does not sound appealing to me. So I'm going to at least wait until I have some kind of armor he can put on. And then I don't know if that'll remove the nudist buff that he's getting for being nude. I don't know. But I think it's worth trying to see if maybe we can put some armor on him and still get the nudist buff. Maybe that's asking too much. So he was a child knave. Which a knave is like a knight, but not. I don't know what the difference is really, but we're going to say they're basically the same thing. So he was a child knight. I think a knave is more of a, it's less active, it's less violent-y, more politic-y. Because I think that's what it is that knaves are more royalty-ish, kind of, but also knightish. I don't know. I'm really just talking out of my ass. Let's find out what a knave really is. Oh, that's not what I thought it was at all. It's a dishonest or unscrupulous man. Huh. Not a knight at all. Well then. Okay, so he was a child knave, which means that he did games, illegal games or something, I guess? Sure. he was somehow associated with the underworld of some planet area. He may have been part of a pirate pirate faction, but not an actual pirate himself. He would have been more like a gypsy, I guess. Like, this suits me for now, but I'll change my mind later. And then he became a blood game survivor. The planet he must have come from must have been severe. Like, seriously. If he was a child name and then a blood game survivor, which I take to be something like Hunger Games. What the hell was going on there? You know? So he was born and raised in exceptional circumstances. No wonder why he has melee 19. He has been hardened. So hardened to the world. He's got a social of 15 though. That's kind of amazing. I don't know. I guess that part of that came from the child knave thing, probably. Lying to people, getting to know their psyche. I'm sure the blood game survivor probably benefited from that social, if it didn't factor into it as well, because, I mean, if you know people's psyche, you know how people function, you know how they think, it's a lot easier to get the jump on them and take them out. Know what they're going to do next, plan for that, and then win. And he's got some other skills, you know. He's got a okay construction, okay mining, okay in animals. Getting there in plants. Cooking, though. What the hell's going on there? He really enjoys cooking. I guess that's part of his gourmandness. I actually know somebody that kind of reminds me of Lachi. Oh, now that I'm looking at his name, I think his name's supposed to be Lachi. Because this is Malachi. So I think this is supposed to be Lachi. But like Loki with an A. I've been calling him Lachi because that's what it looks like. I think I might have to change his nickname so that it represents his actual name. Because they wouldn't call him Lachi if his name was Malachi. Come on, that's weird. Anyway, I know somebody in real life that actually reminds me of this person. Like, there's a lot of similarities. This whole like melee fighting badassy kind of thing paired with I love to cook and I love to eat. Not so much in the nudists though. I don't know any nudists. I'll put that right out there. But yeah, that combination seems to be like it kind of makes sense to me, because if you really like to fight, or if you've built up your ability to fight, then you've got a lot of muscle, you've got a lot of metabolism. That means that you need a lot of calories, and that is going to make you think more about your food and eat more that you enjoy, because you're going to be able to eat damn near anything you want because you need those calories. Now, obviously, you need to still worry about not eating too much sugar, specifically because of, the linked diabetes, and maybe not as much of the bad fats because of its link to heart disease. But overall, I mean, if you need that many calories, you can stand to have a variety of things, and you can enjoy them more thoroughly because you're not worried about, oh, what is this going to do? Is this going to go to my hips? Is this going to go to my butt? So that makes a little bit of sense to me. First, we're going to put the notes of that gunshot wound, shooting accident when young. We're going to say he was starting to learn how to fight and tried to shoot a gun, and it backfired. And the scar reminds him, this maybe isn't my wheelhouse. He could shoot, he could learn how to do it, He's not incapable. He just doesn't like it, and he's never come back to it. Maybe we might have him come back to it. I doubt it though, because brawlers gotta brawl. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's going to be happy learning how to shoot. So he's pretty much just going to be melee, which means he's not going to do a whole lot until we have armor. He's going to mainly do cooking, maybe some social. In fact, he would have been a better choice now looking back at being our royal person. And you know what? He still might be our royal person. We don't know what's going to happen to Hammer. He is old. He is super old, and he's obviously losing his mind. He just had a psychotic break. And you know what? We could potentially have two royal people in the same colony. It could happen. Just put them on separate sides of the map, have two different throne rooms. It could probably work. You never know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. His index finger thing was a shooting accident. Backfired. He had the gunshot wound. And we're going to say that was when he was still a child knave. That's when that happened. Child knave. So we got dishonest and humble as the definitions for knave. I don't know what RimWorld specifically says about that as a history. And it doesn't really matter because we're going to make up our own anyway. So we're going to say that he ran some scam games, like back alley sort of stuff. And then he was just kind of raised like a gypsy. And I don't mean that to be like offensive. I mean just like, you know, a wandering person. And in this case, just so happened to be dishonest. Not all gypsies are like that. I don't know any gypsies to know anything about them. But stereotypical bad gypsy. So we'll kind of say like that. So he's raised gypsy-ish, and then as he got older, they tried to get him to learn how to shoot. Let's put in here possible pirate band. But obviously it doesn't say that in here, so we don't know. And his memory might not even remember them as a pirate band, even if they were. Because obviously he left them to deal with these blood games. So, so he left as a young adult to do the blood games. I'm not even going to say young adult, really. I'm going to say he was like 15. Which in their tribe probably would have been considered as young adult. Not so much in our society. So, I don't know how to write that. Just try to imagine that not all young adults are the same age for every person or every culture. We're going to wonder why he left. Well, maybe not why he left. Why he went to do the blood games. And I'm going to say because of his background in being a child knave, he probably had to focus a lot on the darker parts of the underworld. Maybe he was learning a little bit about, self-defense and whatnot, melee sort of things when he was younger. And maybe he got really interested in that and kind of took that and ran with it. So by the time he went to do this blood game survivor thing, he was probably a melee of like 5 or 6, I would say, as a young adult, as a 15-year-old, really. he would have always had that cooking thing. That is just him. That is a trait that he just had from birth, I would assume. And his desire to be a nudist and brawler probably were too. So I don't know that any experience specifically actually changed him. It's more that he was born into an environment that you can't really separate from his, that nature nurture thing. Was he always going to be a brawler, or if he had been born someplace else, would he have not been a brawler? Does that brawler thing have anything to do with his desire to be a nudist? Because that is kind of a power play right there. Him wanting to be naked all the time is kind of like, I don't need protection from vulnerability against other people. That could be part of his brawler persona. The gourmand thing, gourmand, however you say that could be, because he was denied the greater things in life. He was born a very humble person. He didn't have a lot of access to the better things in life, the good foods and everything. So one could say that his environment that he was born and raised in was the reason why he is what he is, but at the same time, you could also say he has done with his life exactly what he meant to do. And he survived. He also ended up as an enemy of Fen. I don't remember which faction, but I do remember he was an enemy. I had to subdue him and then jail him until he finally submitted. Which means after his blood game thing happened, he went to a pirate band, or at the very least a very fierce tribe. I really think they were the pirate band, though. I think he was in a pirate band, which, since none of his things says anything about piracy, I don't think he understands the difference between pirates and normal colonies. I think he understands that they are different and that there are, but I don't know that he looks at a pirate band and says, that's a pirate band. I think he looks at them and says, they're smart. They fight for what they want. They are intense. They're brutal. You know what I mean? I don't think he thinks about them as like, oh, these are pirates. I'm thinking that might be the reason why he was so susceptible to being in that pirate band that then eventually attacked us. We still haven't really talked about the blood games thing, but let's go down here. Became part of pirate band. Then attacked Fen, and it's really all ancient history from there. Am I right? That is not how you spelled became. Thank you. Okay, so I think the story of his backstory is really in what the hell happened in those blood games, right? That's the most interesting part of this guy. He was a blood game survivor. What does that mean? What did he do? And why did he leave? What did it mean to survive it? So we'll come over here. He left his troop. We'll call them a troop. He left them maybe because they weren't violent enough. Or maybe he just didn't like the dishonesty anymore and he preferred to do it on more honest terms, with your fists. Well, no, I'm gonna keep with that. I was thinking about erasing it because pirates aren't really honest either. But if your morality says that fighting for what you want is honest, then stealing isn't dishonest, and being a raider or being a pirate isn't dishonest. It's the truest form of honesty. It's It's dog eat dog. It's the strongest wins. That's more honest than, you know, manipulating people in a court, you know? And I don't mean like law, but that too. I mean like the royal court. He would probably see royalty as being the ultimate liars. Because, yeah, they're not violent, but they're not really... They're just making you see the reality that they want you to see. Blowing smoke up your ass, and if it really came down to a fight between two men, which one was actually going to win? Probably not the royalty, because they're not, you know, they're usually pretty pudgy in the middle, right? Because they've got that fancy lifestyle. Piracy and raiding, not dishonest. Strongest wins. And that's just a different mentality, you know. You don't have to believe that way, but if you do believe that way, then it makes perfect sense. If you don't believe that way, it's kind of like, how do you sleep at night? Well, they sleep at night because this is how they believe, you know. There's nothing evil in their mind about, I'm stronger, I want that, I'm going to take it from you because I can. They don't see the moral wrongness of it. They just see this is how everything else in the world acts. You know, if a monkey wants something and a bigger monkey, or, you know, they're bigger than the monkey that has it, then who do you think's going to end up with it? The bigger monkey. It's a simplistic black and white view. And I think he would have that view. I also think that the Lachi, in fact, I think I'm going to change his nickname to Loki because it makes more sense. Loki had a more chaotic view of the world, and it wasn't necessarily evil. People put the spin on it as if it were evil. Different variations of the story of Loki portray him as evil, but he wasn't really evil. He was chaos personified. And chaos can be good, it can be evil. Look at Randy Random. You know what I mean? Like, it's neutral. It's literally the gray in between everything. And you can see it in any way you want, but truth is, it's probably the base. It's zero. It's what we judge everything else by. Or maybe not that. Maybe it's more the scale that we're judging it on. It's the pivot point. It's the line between. And I think Loki would be a much better nickname for him. Much more understandable how to fucking pronounce, too. So he left his troop. He wanted a more honest life. So he went to, and maybe the planet, because, you know, we're going with Hunger Games, might as well. The planet he was living on, which might very well be the planet that we are living on, by the way. One of the factions had a tournament. At a tournament of survival blood games, and maybe it wasn't for anything nearly as nifty as what the Hunger Games wanted. You know, theirs is very lofty, you know, rising somebody up from the pits of despair and making them a celebrity, giving their faction or section of people a voice or whatever. I don't think it's going to be as lofty as that. I think it's going to be that the survivor got to join the pirate band. Which makes it a lot less of a story, really, because it wasn't all noble. He wasn't being persecuted. He chose this life. He chose the violence. He chose the gore. He chose the shit that he ended up having to wade through, and he got what he wanted. There's not really a sad story in this one. It's more of a, well, sometimes the way you look at it changes everything about it, doesn't it? Because, I mean, if he hadn't been a brawler, if he hadn't had such a high skill in melee, this would be a completely different story. He obviously wants this kind of life. The blood games, the you know, even the child knave thing, like that was, it doesn't look like it really scarred him. And the only reason why he joined, the only reason why he's a member of our colony is because we left him in a room and told him he had no other choice. So he is begrudgingly a colonist at our colony. Fenfin only has Lachi, or Loki, as I will be renaming him next episode, next video. The only reason why he's around is because we said, hey, give this a shot. Or sit here in the cell for the rest of your life. We may end up selling you. It's your choice. And eventually he was like, you know what? You're the stronger one. Okay. Let's see how this goes. And now he's playing nice. Because we were stronger. We were smarter. Not really even stronger. Because we didn't fight him directly. I'm pretty sure that he was, you know, impaled by one of the spike traps, like most people are that come to our colony with the intention of hurting us. But that doesn't matter, because obviously we still won. And maybe that was why it took him a little while, because he had to work out in his head that, you know, we didn't actually fight him and beat him down, but obviously we had also beaten him into submission through our intelligence by constructing security systems that could take him down without actually having to do it ourselves. And that's where that whole idea of the strongest survives, the strongest is the winner, take what you want, that whole mentality, that is where that mentality ends, is where you start thinking about, well, what about the weak people that are physically weak, but mentally strong? How do you rate the strongest surviving when you have two vastly different skills? When you pit them against each other, it's not always clear who's going to win. You can't just say because they're physically weak that they will lose unless you give them no other option but to use their physical skill. When you're just out there in nature, when you're just out and saying, you know, the strongest survives, you're not taking away their ability to use their intelligence to fend for themselves, to defend themselves. And that would probably break his whole mentality down into, okay, maybe strength isn't just about muscles. Maybe strength isn't just about whether or not I can pin your head into a headlock. Or, you know, punch you in the face. Maybe strength can be different things. And maybe he's growing as a person, being a colonist at Fenfin. Guess we'll see. That's it for our video today. Like if you liked the video, subscribe if you haven't. Check me out on Patreon. My website is izanamikun.com, and I will see you guys in the next video.